Welcome to the March 28, 2022 Select Board meeting. First up would be the call to order and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have acceptance and correction of minutes from 3/14/2022, public and non-public.
I'll make a motion we accept the minutes from 3/14/22 public and non-public minutes with corrections if need be.
I'll second.
Anybody have anything? So, motion by Mark, seconded by Kelly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none, motion passes. I do not see any announcements, is that correct, Derek?
That's correct, it's not for the packet.
How long is it going to take to do the bid award? A couple minutes?
Yes.
Come on, we'll do the bid award.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Evening.
I have for you tonight a request for approval for award of a bid for the repair of Fire Station 19's apparatus floor. We sent out 17 requests for proposals to various vendors locally and regionally on February 22nd. One of the RFPs was returned as undeliverable. We received 2 inquiries about the project, and 2 vendors attended pre-bid tours of the requested work. The RFPs were due on Tuesday, March 22nd at 9 a.m. The town administrator and I were present for the bid opening, as well as a representative from W.P. Davis Excavation LLC, who happened to be the sole RFP submitter. So a review of the bid package was conducted on March 22nd, and the review showed the bidder had met all the requirements and had submitted a qualified bid. He also provided some additional side proposals submitted at our request for seal coating the floor and to install a concrete apparatus pad in front of the station. So after we looked at all of those, I'm requesting the Board of Selectmen award the RFP to W.P. Davis of Hampton, New Hampshire for the following cost and replacement of front and side trench drains to the apparatus floor. Station 19 front trench drains per the stated RFP for a cost of $19,900. Station 19 side trench drain replacement for a cost of $7,900. And then Station 19 floor sealing, including all prep work using a Duraflex floor coating system for a cost of $19,900. This brings the total request for approval of this project to $47,700.
What was budgeted?
$50,000.
You can start this right away.
Yep.
Anybody got any questions?
Good one.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Just out of curiosity, Chief, did any of the other vendors say why they didn't bid? We put up 17, only we got one back.
I really think it's because they're involved, you know, we're right in the construction season, and I think they got a lot larger projects. As a matter of fact, this vendor is does pretty big construction work too for the states, but he says he typically will take them on because others won't because they're so busy, you know.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you soliciting the bid. It's just interesting to me.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Anybody else? Somebody want to make the motion?
Make a motion to award the Fire Station 19 apparatus floor repair project to W.P. Davis Excavation LLC of Hampton, New Hampshire, in the amount of $47,700 for the replacement of the front and side trench drains drains, and seal coating of the entire apparatus floor. Funds for the project are to be paid from the Fire Operations and Facility Repair Capital Improvement Project Fund.
I'll second.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Kelly. In the past, we've always had a question on just, we only have one bid, but other people looked at it, and we did have sent out to a lot of the people, so I guess the one bid's what we got. So the motion was made by Collis, seconded by Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Why don't you go ahead, Derek, start with the public works stuff?
Okay, at tab 5A, you have a copy of the 2022 road plan from the Public Works Director. This is based on the approved budget, and it has been scaled appropriately for the shifts in asphalt pricing that are anticipated over the summer. With the passage of the budget, there was an appropriation of $2,200,000 for road plan work. And you'll see on the third page there's a list of the roads and the type of treatment that would be done for all of those. As the price of asphalt changes over the summer, there might be some adjustments that DPW needs to make, but DPW is requesting the board approve the road plan as proposed.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 road plan as proposed.
Second.
Motion of Kelly, seconded by Jim. Any questions? Input? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
At tab 5B, you have a memo on a 2022 state aid bridge project. This is for a culvert on Center Street near between Locust Street and Tibbetts Hill. This was accepted on the state of New Hampshire 10-year plan for replacement in 2025 with a design to begin in 2022. The Public Works Director is requesting that a third-party engineer, Quantum Construction Consultants, who has provided a current scope and fee proposal for the engineering study phase in the amount of $92,810, be authorized to do the necessary engineering study phase. Again, because this is in the state aid bridge program, the state will reimburse 80% of both the design and the construction costs. The full CIP amount for the full design is $157,000, with that anticipated revenue coming in on the other side.
Is there a reason why Quantum was selected? I mean, it didn't go out to any kind of a bid? Is it somebody we've used before?
They're one of the third-party engineering firms that we did a bid for a few years ago, where we requested engineering firms to come under contract to be on-call engineers. And it's my understanding, talking with Adam, that they've done similar designs with DOT projects in the past. So for the design and construction, for the design portion of it, Quantum would be the engineer, and then we'd actually have to hire a different engineer in 2025 when we do the construction portion.
And this is Harry Brook.
This is Harry Brook, yes, yes.
Anybody got any questions?
Recommend awarding engineering design services for the Center Street Bridge project to Quantum Construction Consultants, and accept the current scope and fees proposed for the engineering study phase in the amount of $92,810, and authorize the DPW director to sign the agreement, as well as the New Hampshire Department of Transportation State Aid Bridge Program agreement.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Collis to approve the recommendation. Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. At this time, call for public input. Do we have anybody here for public comment tonight? Going once, going twice. Seeing none, we'll move on.
At tab 5C, you have two RFPs that have been prepared by DPW. The first is for contracted catch basin cleaning and pipe jetting. This was included in the 2022 budget. The bids would be due on April 20th with a contract period from May 2nd to April 15th. And then the second RFP is for the solid waste trailer. The only item I would mention on that is talking with Adam today. There is a date that needs to be corrected on that RFP. It lists April 23rd, but we'd actually have responses due on April 20th at 9 a.m. The same time as the catch basin RFP. So we'd have them both due on April 20th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to advertise bids for the catch basin cleaning and solid waste trailer with corrections.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes.
And then at tab 5D, there is a department update from DPW. The one item I know that Adam was going to note for you was in this year's budget was a replacement of the solid waste packer. There have been quite a difficulty sourcing that, and it appears that the lead time would be over 2 years from when the order is put in. So they are searching for lot vehicles and may be coming back to this board for permission to do some things a little bit different this year, just because the source time is so long.
Yeah, you had found two out in Minnesota or something, and
Yep.
when they got to them, they were gone.
Yeah.
Yep. That's just just for our information, there's nothing to be done with that, right?
Correct. No action needed there.
Town Administrator's report?
Thank you. At tab 6A, you have your committee meeting schedule. There are no meetings this week. Next week, on Wednesday at 6 p.m., the Economic Development Council will meet in Town Hall in this room.
I think that's me, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Your next page is your consent agenda. We do have 2 items that were added today, so left on your table an updated list. You have employee status reports for firefighter to firefighter AMT merit increase. You have 2 police officers with successful completion of probationary period, a part-time firefighter 2 paramedic resignation, a part-time fire lieutenant resignation, and a call firefighter 2 resignation. You have a motor vehicle title and bill of sale for DPW 2007 dump truck that needs the signature of the chair. You have rights to inter in West Lawn Cemetery, section 1998, lots 245 and 246. Shirley Hill Cemetery, section 2, lots 48B, 49B, 50B, and 51B. And then added today was West Lawn Expansion Cemetery, section 3, lot 121. You have an out-of-state travel notification for first due boss training for 3 employees at the fire department. Out-of-state and overnight travel notification for Beam disaster recovery software training for 1 employee in IT here. You have annual facility report. This is the report that we turn into the state of New Hampshire every year that provides the total tonnage for solid waste for the facility. That will be forthcoming, and the DPW director has requested permission to sign that on behalf of the town as it is due on March 31st. And then you have an event permit for Pinardville Lions Club Easter egg hunt on April 9th, 9 a.m. and they have staggered start times, and the location is Roy Park.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, including an update as of today, March 28th.
Second.
Motion by Carl, seconded by Jim. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
At tab 6C, you have recommendations from the assessor. quite a few. You have a tax deferral for elderly or disabled that's recommended for approval for map 43, lot 7. You have a veterans tax credit with a recommendation of denial for map 6, lot 24-21. You have a veterans tax credit. These are all recommended for approval. Map 9, lot 58-1. Map 16, lot 17B-75. Map 8, lot 46-16-13. Map 17, lot 189. Map 8, lot 74-1. Map 9, lot 32-4. And looks like we have our map 9, lot, map 9, lot 32-4. There's 2 veterans tax credits on that specific lot. You have all veterans tax credit for map 38, lot 95. You have a veterans tax credit and service-connected disability recommended on map 6, lot 7. You have an elderly exemption recommended for approval on map 9, lot 58-1. Map 6, lot 17B-75. And map 3, lot 37C 11-307. And then you have solar energy systems tax exemptions for map, these are all recommended, for map 12, lot 6-3, map 18, lot 7, map 2, lot 54-13, map 9, lot 4-53, map 39, lot 5-11, map 9, lot 84-7, and map 8, lot 46-16-13.
Make a motion to approve the assessor's recommendations as presented.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark. Do we know how much this cost us per year? Do we have a number that you use when you're figuring out our revenues? And
Yeah, so that goes on the MS1 or valuation one. I can provide what last year's was to you next year. Off the top of my head, I don't know what the solar exemptions were, but I believe the veterans tax credits were somewhere between 450,000 and 480,000, somewhere in that ballpark. I'll get that for your next meeting.
I'm just curious, so what's that?
It's included as part of the MS1 valuation, and it's calculated into our when we do the tax rate. But I'll provide you the 2021 numbers at your next meeting.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Kelly, I believe, and seconded by Mark.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
At tab 6D, you have volunteer appointments. You have a recommendation from the Goffstown Conservation Commission to reappoint member Gene Walker and reappoint member David Neiman, both as full members for a term of 2022 to 2025. You have recommendations from the Goffstown Parks and Recreation Commission. This would be to reappoint member Howard Sobolov, member Jane Stekowitz, and member Lance Ogier, as well as alternate member Eric Emmerling, all for the same term, 2022 to 2025 in the same position. So those that were full members would stay, and alternate member Emmerling would remain as an alternate member. And then you have a recommendation from the Goffstown Trustees of the Trust Fund to reappoint alternate member Brian Lombardi and reappoint alternate member Scott Gross. There is a typo in your packet. It says a term. The term would actually be till 2023. So it would be till this time next year, 2023, for those alternate members on the Trustees of the Trust Fund.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Gene Walker and David Neiman as full members to the Conservation Commission with terms expiring March 31st, 2025.
Second.
Motion by Collins, seconded by Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, seeing none, motion passes.
Motion to reappoint Howard Stukalov, Jane Stekowitz, and Lance Ogier as full-time members to the Parks and Recreation Commission with terms expiring March 31st, 2025.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
Motion to reappoint Eric Emmerling as an alternate member of the Parks and Recreation Commission with the term expiring March 31st, 2025.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Collis. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Brian Lombardi and Scott Gross as alternate members to the Trustees of the Trust Funds with terms expiring March 31st, 2023.
2022
It should be,
It's
that was a-
2023.
It's 2023, that was a typo, sorry about that.
I'll second.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Kelly. In discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And then at tab 6E, you have some job description revisions that are requested. The first is a revised job description. This would change the zoning code enforcement officer to a zoning administrator position. There are some slight changes in the essential functions. It would remain at a labor grade 7 on the non-union wage matrix with a schedule of 35 hours a week, plus those evening hours to assist the zoning board of adjustment. And then at GTV, this would be a new job description for a PEG access education technician as a labor grade 5. This would be fully funded out of the GTV revolving fund with 100% reimbursement from the school district. This is included as part of the 2022 school district adopted budget. Also at GTV would be a revised job description for a PEG access technician for labor grade 3. This would be a 25-hour a week position, and again paid for from the GTV revolving fund. And then the final item is a new job description for Parks and Recreation grounds and program assistant at a labor grade 3. This was part of the approved budget, and as part of that approved budget, we budgeted for starting on April 1st.
Question on zoning administrator. Are you,
Oh, go ahead.
are you going to still oversee communications with attorneys and things like that? Because that, in the past, could have been a problem, it was a problem.
So the one change you'll see on page 2 of 2, that the work is performed under the direction of the Planning and Economic Development Director, not the town administrator. When somebody would fill this role, I would ask for them to coordinate with Joanne on contact to the attorney, because right now Joanne is contacting and controlling that legal line and then consulting with me when we see that overages. But I would actually have her, he or her, whoever takes this position, to work with Joanne on that portion of it, rather than to do it on their own.
So we can be, you're assuming we're taking a little bit of responsibility away from you, get it off your back and give it to somebody else. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I think it's appropriate to be under the planner and to learn that planning piece, because they are tied in with the site plan review as well as anything for ZBA.
Great.
And on page 1, Pete, it does specifically call out coordination with lawyers, specifically, as well as real estate agents.
That's what I was saying, I brought it up, that's why I brought it up,
Yeah.
to the lawyers, real estate agents. So I just, but it still has to go through the planning board and the planning economic development.
So any legal requests that we do through NHMA, which is a free request, which is paid by our dues, must go through either myself or through Danielle. The board, that's how you authorized it in the fall. And then, like I said, right now the land use, the only one that has direct contact with the lawyers is Joanne, when she has questions, and she's been very good about limiting to those to items, so her bill doesn't go too high.
I have a question. Derek, the part that got removed about providing backup for building inspector, interpreting and enforcing building codes, I see that that's kind of outlined in that initial summary, but is that the intention that was?
It is. I think that may have put in, when it was initially put in, as somebody that could potentially learn the ICC codes to go out and do building inspection. Our intention is not to have a second building inspector through this position. This is more a person that focuses on zoning enforcement, but also provides that backup for Joanne and Patty upstairs on the land use side. Right now we have memorandums of understandings with New Boston and Ware when we need assistance with building inspection. I think that would be a unicorn if you could find somebody that could do the zoning, the planning, as well as the building inspection, so that's why we took that out.
Anybody got anything else?
I'm just curious, what's the process for making these changes?
So you, as the hiring authority, ultimately are approving.
Right, but who did the, who
put
did the
these
meat, but
together?
who made the meat and potatoes?
We used the zoning code enforcement job description, and then I met with Joanne a few months ago. She had pulled some planning and zoning assistants, so we kind of merged the two and saw some examples that were out there, and talking with it. So ultimately, this one I put together for the zoning administrator. I know that the two PEG items, our current PEG coordinator, David Steffen, worked with Danielle to put those together, and then Danielle worked with Rick on the grounds and programs assistant to help him put that together.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody got anything else? We need a motion?
I'll make
Good.
I move we approve the revised and new job descriptions as presented.
Second.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Mark. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Do we have, Derek, have we posted what positions are available, volunteer positions someplace? Is it posted on the website, or is there even any open? I don't know.
There always is one. What we can do is we can pull it forward to the front page and then link to it for Facebook. Usually, we wait to see those volunteers that their term is expiring and are choosing not to return. And Kathy provides an update of those, but I'll make sure that we get the word out on what those available slots are.
Sure.
Speaking of the volunteer positions, I looked at it recently and it still has the ADA committee and a couple other committees that are sort of non-functioning at the moment.
Not active, no.
Yeah, can we just remove those because they do
Yes.
show open volunteer?
Yes,
If we're
absolutely.
going to advertise it, we might as well clean it up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I can work with Kathy on that.
Thank you.
Yep. Let's go to new business. What do you want to cover on the new business?
I didn't have any items for new business. There were a couple under old business, but I didn't have anything for new
Okay,
business.
let's go to old business, and this would be one of the items.
So that was the proposal that you approved for DPW for Quantum. That was just to
Right.
give everybody an
Okay.
idea of what it looked like. The first item is at tab 7B. Last week presented you with the rules of procedure. There did not seem to be any discussion amongst the board about changing anything, but our recommendation in the past is to have each board annually formally adopt those rules of procedure.
Anybody got any issues or problems with the way we've been operating?
Make a motion to adopt the select board's rules and procedures as presented with no changes for the year 2022.
One second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Kelly. Any discussions? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
Then the next item would be
To pass out
committee
the committee assignments.
assignments.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is pretty much what we discussed at the last meeting.
Does anybody have two?
Alice, can you pass one to Jim,
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry. Wow, I didn't can you sign?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Oh, we're leaving you out, Joe.
I get paranoid.
Yeah, I'll stick to you, that was one.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we should go on to the draft charter for the bridge.
Yes, this is in your packet. It's at tab 7B. It's the third page in there. At a previous select board meeting, there was a request to draft up a new charter for the ad hoc committee to continue the work on the pedestrian bridge here in the village. Using the board's rules of procedure, you do have in there a draft charter. And what I've done is I highlighted in yellow those areas that had what I guess was a significant change. One item, I did work with Selectman Adams on this as he served on the ad hoc committee last time. One change from the past, the committee would remain at 9 members, but rather than have 4 members from the community at large, we'd reduce that to 3 members from the community at large and add a representative from the Goffstown Rotary Club. And also there's a note that membership preference would be given to those individuals that served on the ad hoc committee from 2020 to 2021. And then the period of existence would be for 2 years until a final report could be presented to the select board in May of 2024, or no later than May 2024, with regular updates every 6 months. So again, the mission would be to present the board with a plan for constructing the pedestrian bridge across the river. The evaluation shall result in a report detailing funding sources for pedestrian bridge and establishment of a 501c3 nonprofit for accepting community donations. The report should focus on funding sources with a primary focus on sources other than local property taxes.
Do we now have somebody from the Main Street program?
Main Street is still active. Ellen Vermakowitz served on the ad hoc committee last time, and we would reach out to Main Street again to see if there was a volunteer from their board that would be willing to serve, or see if Ellen would be willing to serve again.
And then the Rotary Club, are we just inviting them to be on the board just because they own that piece of property?
Yes, I think that the fact that they own that property and the fact that the bridge would need to terminate on their land would be appropriate to have them more involved this time. I think we did a pretty good job involving them last time, but only to a handful of meetings when we were talking specifically about that. So that's why I made that change.
Well, my concern was just that we're only inviting Rotary Club and we were inviting Main Street. How about other organizations in town that, like, what happens if the Lions Club says, well, how come we didn't get invited? How do you speak to that? I mean...
So I think when we did the last ad hoc committee, initially I had thought about inviting the Friends of the Goffstown Rail Trail because how it terminates. In talking with David Pierce at that time, their preference was to advise the ad hoc committee because they wanted the rail trail to remain a distinct project from the bridge. I think there might be some advantages of working with them to get potential funding to finish the whole project. But at that time, it was their preference to remain separate. Main Street, the bridge would bring potentially more foot traffic into the business area here in the village. And then Rotary as a property owner. Yes, there are other community organizations within town, and I think we could, as part of this process, have a public hearing where you allow those community representatives to come in, or those community organizations to come in and speak to the project overall. But as far as steering the committee, we felt I felt it was most appropriate to have those organizations chosen.
I'm just bringing up potential questions, that's all, you know.
And certainly we'd have regularly scheduled meetings with an agenda, and part of that agenda, one of the items can be public comment on regular basis.
Okay. Jim?
And just, when I saw that, no later than May 2024, just seemed like a long time for me. Is there any reason why we need to, because we can't even start, we can't even start fundraising until...
Well, we've got
After
to,
that.
a number of reasons. We've got to set up the 501c3
Right.
first, and then fundraising just takes a lot of time. And
So the fundraising's not going to start after this is all done, is it? Or is...
Well, I think the way this was written, it would be a final report with recommendations to the select board no later than May 2024.
Right.
I guess if you had an ambitious group like we did last time that is able to pull those recommendations and the steps for fundraising together sooner, they could bring it together.
They could do that.
And bring it back to this board sooner than that.
And they would be reporting every 6 months to this board as well, so
Okay, so if everything works out,
I would say at least every 6 months. If something comes up, or somebody's giving you a bunch of money to say, build this thing, you may want to come in before 6 months, I'm just saying. But at minimum of 6 months. Would that be all right?
Yep.
They don't have to come in, they don't have to wait 6 months.
Yep.
Is the board going to be directly responsible for starting the 501c3, or is that going to be driven through a designated person from town hall? I mean, that's a pretty big ask. So I just, who from town hall is going to oversee, and who's responsible for, obviously, town submitting the paperwork, but.
You know, it's a private organization, isn't it?
And I think that's what we need to see. We need
Yeah.
to see how that interplay works, so we can look at a little bit how the library and the Friends of the Library operate in partnership, as well as how the Friends of the Goffstown Rail Trail work with the town.
So they set up a separate foundation that has its own board of directors that's separate from, so they have a member that sits on that foundation in an advisory capacity, but they're a completely separate entity. So I would like to clarify that in here, if possible, since this is the charter for the committee, that they're independent.
What would you recommend, Karen?
Just like who owns it, right? That it's a separate entity from town. I mean, we're kind of supporting this project and, you know, doing all the groundwork to get it set up, but it doesn't state anywhere in here who owns this committee or this project.
And I think we can do that as part of the deliverable was a report that details funding sources and the establishment of a 501c3. I don't think it was meant that this group would establish that, it just would lay out the groundwork and we could bring that back to the board on, and then kind of define that, the two roles.
Okay.
So if that's acceptable, again, this is to bring back to this is almost like a study committee to do all the heavy lifting of the work and bring it back to the board, kind of like we did with a report in 2021.
It's just like the way rail trail opens, they get a grant and they come up with the funds to match and they come in and say, hey, look at what we got, you know?
No, I mean, I understand how it works. I'm just saying, in the charter, I think it should be specified.
Maybe this shouldn't be called a charter, I don't know.
Well, the establishment of the 501c3 would have to identify the responsible parties, including an agent, you know, how they report. They have reporting requirements as well.
you got to tell the state the purpose of the 501c,
Exactly.
and you got to keep it to that, or you
Right.
lose your status and all that, so.
Right, but that you do all that when you set up the
Right,
501c3.
right.
Maybe then just the
Secretary of
word
State.
of independent or something like that. I'm just trying to set the,
We could definitely change the charter so it says an establishment of an independent 501c3.
That's fine.
we're supporting it, but it's separate.
Yep. We can make that change.
Anything else?
Yeah, I want to make a motion. Where did it go?
You want a motion?
What's that?
Is there a motion you want on
Yeah,
this?
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the ad hoc committee charter as presented and amended during discussion tonight.
I'll second.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Kelly. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Okay, let's just go to the matrix, action matrix. Any updates on number one?
No, you're just providing information to the county,
Okay.
working with the police chief on that.
We just discussed the bridge. Fire ambulance 3, back in service. Now fire ambulance 2, is it still out? That's what
That one's still out, and that one's gonna be out for a while, so I don't know if you want me to keep that on the action matrix, because that one is gonna be out for quite some time.
How long is quite some time? Months? 6 months? Come on up, chief.
So we just found out late last week that we potentially may have a chassis, so we're starting to work with the dealer from that. So I think it'll, if we can work out the chassis, maybe, yeah, you know, it'll be out for a while to remount it, but not as long as without a chassis at all, so.
Okay.
I'd like to keep it on there then.
Okay. You want to leave it on?
Updates
Yep.
or work.
Yeah. And then water pump, that's back in service now, chief?
I know.
Huh?
He was expected to come back.
It says here, service scheduled for 3/23. That's 5 days ago.
Still sitting out there.
So that's still out. And then the spreader issue on one of the trucks. Anybody got any questions on that? Seeing none, we'll move on. Is there anything else, Derek?
No, there's nothing else.
Is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, from 2A compensation and B hiring, and C adversely affect reputation.
Second.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
that roll call.
Yes, sir.
You said yes.
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 That'll conclude our public portion of tonight's select board meeting. Thanks for those of you who watched.
Hey, Collins.